B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach. Shir Torah, Bruchim HaBaim. Thank you very much for the water. Mitzvot. Good to see everyone. As you can see, the Bet Knesset here is almost up and done. I would say we probably have maybe one more shiur here left, two possibly. Depends on how much time the last move takes. But B'ezrat Hashem, we already have quite a few surprises in the works. B'ezrat Hashem. As usual, our Wednesday night is the She'elot v'Teshuvot, the Stump the Rabbi. You guys ask me some questions. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Be'ezrat Hashem, will give us the answers. I have a few interesting chidushim, interesting stories. All depends on how you guys want to start, whether you want to start with the questions or you want to start with the answers. Today's shiur, Be'ezrat Hashem, will be for a refuah shlema for Levana bat Sarah, David ben Esriya, Doris bat Jora, Esther bat Tzipora, Dvorah bat Mercedes, Orit bat Ilana, Yitro ben Avraham, Talia bat Sarah, Serach bat Batya, Batya bat Sarah, and also Atzlacha Rabba to Shaul ben Farzaneh and Yitro ben Avraham, and all of Am Yisrael Be'ezrat Hashem will have Atzlacha Rabba, refuah shlema, refuat HaNefesh, refuat HaGuf. So, Baruch Hashem, we have a nice visitor here from New York. It's always good to see. The world continues to go crazy, I think, with the combination of the bad things that are happening with all of this, destruction of property and so on, but also I think it's going to get a little bit more rowdy as the elections in the United States, gets closer and closer to an end. Things will get bad because what's become normal in today's world is things that are against the Torah. The Chazon Ish once said, "What they call love, we call karet." People call, "Oh, I love her," and Torah says you love her, but it's karet because she's not your wife. And the problem is today is that a lot of the things that are forbidden have become the norm. So what happens in politics today that's become the norm is that they massacre each other publicly in every way, shape, or form without any regard whatsoever to the fact that these people have families or the fact that these people maybe didn't even do what they're accusing him of doing. No, without any regard whatsoever to whether it's true or not. It doesn't really make a difference. Don't let the truth get in the way of a good post. And that's really what's happening today, is that the politicians, especially the top ones, the president or the ones that want to be president, massacre each other. And I really don't understand why anybody would want to be a president. After seeing how much torture the recent presidents get, from the media, and how one day they hate them, the next day they like them, the next day they destroy them, and then they didn't get destroyed, so they try again. And it's just a never-ending situation. I mean, it's not like they make that much money. I mean, the president of the United States makes $400,000 in actual salary, and but then he has all of his expenses paid. Let's say you call it another couple of $1 million a year. Of course, he has a paid gig for life that every time he's ever going to speak moving on, he's going to be paid a few $100,000, which means that he's guaranteed to make a good income. But somebody like Donald Trump, for example, that already has a lot of money, I don't really understand why anybody in their right mind with that type of position would want to be president, because it simply means that you're going to be public property for the rest of your life, the topic of conversation for the rest of your life. And I don't really know why anybody would want that attention, unless, it's just simply for gava, for pride, that, oh, I did it. And that's a very, very sad state of existence, because people that have gava, and I think I told you guys this one time in the Pirkei Avot series, we had a few shiurim about it. People that have pride, they're much, much worse than beggars. Much worse than beggars. Because a beggar, he comes to you, he's begging, give me change, give me $1, give me a quarter, give me something. You give it to him, he goes away. especially if he made enough money for whatever he needs, whether he wants to get something to eat, a place to stay, or a drink. Whatever it is, bottom line is, he got it, he's gone. He's finished. He's finishing begging for the day. It ends at some point. But a Baal Ga'ava, someone that's prideful, his desire, his addiction to pride never ends. Because there's no amount of pride, there's no amount of kavod, if you will, and honor that you can give him or her. It's so sad that you see some of the most established people in the world beg for attention, do the dumbest things in the world just for attention. Do the things that make absolutely no sense whatsoever, just to make a headline, just to go on some TV show. And unfortunately, you also see it in the religious world, where you see some people that are simply begging for attention. So what do? They contact the media and they tell them, listen, I'll be on your network. Why would we want Mr. Rabbi Nobody to be on our network? Well, you talked about homosexuality and I think it's okay. Oh, Rabbi says homosexuality is okay? Okay, yeah, you're welcome to come to CNN, CNBC, CNDTV, that. And that's how people like, for example, Shmuli Boteach, Shem Reshaim Yerkav, that's how he establishes himself. Everything that's forbidden, he says it's allowed. And in essence, how does he do it? He simply tells the media, yeah, you remember that verse in Leviticus that says that homosexuality is an abomination? Yeah, it's not really relevant. You guys just didn't understand it. So let me show you the beauty of the Torah. And by the way, my daughter has a sex store. You should highlight too also. Maybe she'll make some more money. In Tel Aviv. A rabbi's door, that's what she has.
Hannah is the owner of Tel Aviv's first kosher sex shop. She wants to promote intimacy between couples in the framework of Jewish values. And she joins me in the studio right now.
And this is how people that are proud live their life. They fiend for media attention. They're willing to do anything for it. And I tell you that if one day, I ask you guys for a favor actually. If one day you start seeing me on the news networks on a regular basis, stop coming to my shurim. I'm asking you for a favor. Do me a chesed. If you start seeing me on a regular basis, now one time, 2 times, if something good happens, something big happens, good, okay, no problem. But if you start seeing me on the networks on a regular basis, say, Rabbi, thank you very much for all the good years. You belong to the media now. We're not coming to your shurim. Don't come. Why? There's no way that I'll be able to tell you the emet if I know the media is watching. No way. Why? I'm a human being. I'm a human being. Anyone that cares about what the media thinks of him cannot learn a thing from him. Why? It's all about pride. It's all about, what are they going to think? What are they going to say about this? Let me make some type of statement that maybe this one's going to get media attention. And that's why a lot of these pride fiends, these honor fiends, these people, they're like addicted like heroin addicts. What do? They have a publicist. What's the publicist's job? Publicist's job is to take any type of little crazy thing that the person said and send it to the media. What do you guys think of this? Oh, it's not good enough? Okay, Rabbi, you got to get better. You got to get better. Tell them that it's a mitzvah. Tell them it's a mitzvah to be homosexual. Okay, next week. And that's what they do. And that's what they do over and over again. And sometimes it's big media, like the CNNs and the NBCs of the world. Sometimes it's small media, like even a yeshiva world or a local newspaper in a Jewish community. But you constantly see the same rabbi being interviewed for no reason. What did he really establish in his life? What did he do? How many people did he help? Okay, so you have a kollel, big deal. Why? What's the, you have to be in the media all the time. When do you have time to learn? And that's the thing that people have to be careful of, because unfortunately the public today thinks that whoever is popular, by default, that means they're good. That means that they're kosher. And that's not correct. That's not correct at all. It's whoever says what Hashem says, that means it's good. Whoever lowers themselves in order to honor Hashem, that's good. But whoever is looking for attention, not so much. Not so much. Now you may get attention anyway, but if it's only because you're trying to be like one of these jockeys that constantly saying something to get attention, you're not a person that we can learn from. And that's why the Gemara in Masechet Moed Katan says that if your Rav does not have the midot of a malach, meaning he's not at least trying to be a tzaddik, he's not trying to be righteous, it's asur to learn from him. It's a sin. It's a sin, meaning like eating pork. You go learn from one of these clowns that's on the list. It's like eating pig for every single second that you listen to them. No, Rabbi, I don't eat pig. You listen to them, it's the same thing as eating pig, no different. Actually, the pig may be a little bit better. Why? Because the pig will make you stupid for a little while. Metamtemoto. That's what the Gemara says. Al tomar v'nitmetem bam, tomar v'nitmetem bam. That the Torah says, don't say that you become impurified, nitmetem, ela metamtem. When you hear things that are against Hashem, then that makes you spiritually stupid, but for much longer than what the pig's going to do. So a person has to be very, very careful with who he listens to and why he listens to them. Whether it be a local rabbi or an online rabbi or whatever it is. And understand that we have, as a nation, the only masoret, the only connection to the original source that exists in the world. Now, the Christians and the Muslims can tell you the same thing, but it's not true. It's simply not true. Why? Because their book is not the book that was published 2,000 years ago. You have over 200,000 versions of the New Testament. Who can tell me that this one is right? Especially since there's a new version of Christianity every other week. Now there's a new version called Lapid Judaism and Messianic Judaism. Neither one of them have anything to do with Judaism. But they're both versions of Christianity. Then you have the Seventh-day Adventists, the Avengers over there. They think that they keep Shabbat. Then you have the Lutheran. Then you have the Protestant. Then you have all types of different Christianities and Catholicism and so on. So, who's right, who's wrong? How could they all be using the same exact book and arrive at a different conclusion? This guy's praying to Yoshke. This guy says he's just a Mashiach. This guy says Mary's his mother. This guy says that Mary is a saint. This guy says Paul is a Rasha. The other one says he's a tzaddik. There's no real connection between the original source and what they are. Same thing with the Muslims. You look at the Muslims, you look at their Quran, there's thousands and thousands of versions of the Quran. Thousands of versions of it. And every single one of those versions has mistakes that are simply mistakes that a 5-year-old Jew can figure out. One example is the fact that they say that Moshe Rabbeinu was related to Yoshke. Because Miriam, his sister, the tzadikah, was really Mary, Yoshke's mother, even though they lived over 1,000 years apart. Or better yet, Paro and Haman were good friends, even though they lived 1,000 years apart, and on top of that, they were two completely different countries. So you have basic, simple things that the Quran has an error, and anyone that knows a little bit of history, anyone that double checks, knows that obviously this is not connected to the original source. The Quran that you're buying right now, or you're getting for free from Mustafa today, is not the right Quran that you got 1,600 years ago. Or 1,400 years ago. It's not. But the Torah Kedusha that we have, Rabotai Yekarim, Torah Kedusha is the same one. Torah Kedusha is the same one. Now, the beautiful part is that the more you research the truth of the Torah, the more you'll know what I just said to be true, but even more so, the more you'll be able to fulfill the mitzvah that's in Sefer Dvarim, Parashat Vayetchanan, Vayadata ki ani Hashem Elokechem. That you know that I am Hashem your God. You know, not you believe, you know. And it's a mitzvah obligation for every single Jew to do everything possible to look at all of the Torah proofs, whether it be scientific, rational, or otherwise. Look at them, investigate them, and know them to be true. Because what's going to happen is, at some point, some kofel is going to come to you. He's going to tell you, yeah, but you know that rabbi said this, but the other rabbi said that. And you know that this guy said this, and this guy said that, and he's going to try to confuse you. And that's why the Gemara in Masechet Avodah Zarah says that you have to know enough Torah to deal with the kofel. What does that mean in practical terms? You have to know proofs. Proofs that God is real and that the only message that He gave us is the Torah Kedusha. No other message. Especially since He says that He's never going to change His Torah. He's never going to change his nation, and so on and so forth. Hashem doesn't change his mind. So it's an obligation for us to know that the Torah is real. Now, Am Yisrael, Am HaKadosh, unfortunately, for the most part, doesn't know everything I just told you. And that's why we have to do everything possible to help them, because not everybody's in your position that knows that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is real, or at least is very close to knowing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is real and His Torah is real. Not everybody knows. In fact, most people don't. The vast majority of Am Yisrael does not even keep Shabbat, which means that although they may say that they believe in God, most of them, although they may say that they feel Jewish, the reality is they do not know God. Why? Because if you know God, you will not go against Him. Even more so on the Goyish world, non-Jewish world, vast majority of them don't know who God is. Vast majority of them are not righteous Noahites. Vast majority of them are idol worshippers. And when we help Am Yisrael do tshuva by understanding who God is, we're also helping the Goyim, because many Goyim watch the shiurim and know that they could apply almost everything that I just told you to their life. Almost all of our shiurim are applicable to all of mankind, because it's practically musal. It's ethics. It's learning how to become a better human being. Not just a righteous Jew, but a righteous human being. And that's why there are many Jews and non-Jews that watch the shiurim and benefit from them and make changes in their life. But it also means that these people are already searching for the emet. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a promise in a Sefer Devarim chapter 4, where He says, if you look for me, you will find me, but only if you look for me with all of your heart and all of your soul. Meaning you have to actively look for HaKadosh Baruch Hu in His emet in order to find it. It's not going to come knocking on your door. Now, it may come as a postcard to your door, but it's not going to come knocking. What do I mean? About 3 or 4 months ago, 3 months ago maybe, we try all types of things to help Am Yisrael do tshuva. All types of things. You know, try to use our knowledge from business in order to mekarev, to get people to do tshuva. So we try all types of marketing things. We print CDs, we have the USBs, we have YouTube, the app, this, that, all types of things. So a few months ago, we decided to print out these postcards that I told you guys so much about. And the company that was printing the postcards also has a service where they say, listen, if you want, we'll mail those postcards to whatever zip code you want. Give us the zip code, and we'll mail it to everybody in that zip code. And they charge you, I don't know, like 50 cents or something like that per card. It's expensive, because you have to pay for the stamp, and you have to pay for the service, and so on and so forth. It's expensive. Said, you know what, let's give this a try. Let's give this a try. See if we get anything. We invested a couple of $1,000. I think a little over $2,000. Go for it. $2,000, Bezat Hashem, maybe we'll find somebody. Never know. About a month ago, I get a text message. Someone, somehow, I don't know who they are, because they didn't leave a name or anything, but slipped this card under my door. And I looked at it and I said, wow, I've been looking for more information about my heritage, because she's a Jew. Let's see what this movie is all about. And she said the movie changed my life. I enjoyed every minute of it, and today she told me I've been keeping Shabbat for 4 weeks already. Ishtabach Shemolad. Ishtabach Shemolad. Now I don't know how many other people did tshuva from that little tiny $2,000 investment, but all I can tell you is that if it cost me $2 million to get one Jew to do tshuva, it's cheap. Cheap. That's what people don't understand. People don't understand how much you have to do just to get a Jew to do tshuva. How much you should be willing to do. So much so that Rabbi HaKadosh, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, says in the Gemara, someone that understands the value of what a Jew is and helping them do tshuva would spend his entire life of 70 years chasing a single Jew just to help him do tshuva. Now, to give us a little bit of an understanding of what Gedolei Yisrael thought about Am Yisrael, despite our sins, our flaws, and so on and so forth. One of the Talmidim of Rav Shach, alav shalom, noticed that Kvod Arav never ate breakfast between the hours of 8 and 8:30. Never ate it. Before 8 o'clock, he saw him eat. 7 o'clock, 7:30, 7:45, no problem. Eats breakfast. So obviously he gets hungry early sometimes. After 8:30, he sees him eat. All the time. No problem. But never between the hours of 8 and 8:30, never. And a student that pays attention to his Rav pays attention to these things. And he found it unusual and he said, what is it for? One time the Talmidim, they went into Rav Shach's house and they were there inside the house and they saw that the Rav has books from Kabbalah that are very, very, very old, and he wrote commentary on all of it. Meaning he was a Talmid Chacham, not just in Halacha and all types of things. He was a giant in Kabbalah, but he didn't teach it. He didn't teach Kabbalah. But he was a giant in it. And many of Gdolei Yisrael dealt with Kabbalah, but they didn't teach it. Why? Because it's not for everybody. The Arizal himself says that you shouldn't even start learning this type of information until you are biki, an expert in all of the obligations. Shulchan Aruch, Gemara, Chumash, Tanakh, all of the very basics, Musar, and you're completely biki, an expert in it, and you're at least 40 years old. Most people want their second year of tshuva, they already want to start learning Zohar. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world. But anyway, Rav Shach, Kodesh Kodeshim, his entire life dedicated to the Torah, had commentary on the Kabbalah. So the student that noticed that the Rav never ate between 8 and 8:30 said, maybe it's a Kabbalah thing. But how do I ask the Rav if it's a Kabbalah thing if we already all know that he's never going to teach us Kabbalah? So he thought, and one day he got the courage to ask the Rav. He says, Kvod Rav, I noticed that the Rav never eats between 8 and 8:30. How come? He saw the Rav, which was almost 100 years old at that time, shocked, and started crying. Crying. I'm sorry, Kvod Rav, I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. I just wanted. I didn't know it was such an emotional question. And the Rav looks at him. Rav Shach looks at him. He says, "Don't you know that between 8 and 8:30, over 1 million Jewish kids are walking to secular schools? The spiritual destruction of Am Yisrael takes place and all of these kids are walking to schools. How can I eat when over 1 million kids are going to be destroyed spiritually? How could I eat?" It's not that he is not hungry. You can't eat when you know that you have 1 million kids are going to get destroyed. Where are they going to go learn from? They're going to learn from a monkey, that they are a monkey. They're going to learn to be homosexuals by a homosexual. They're going to learn to violate Shabbat because it's just like another day to them. They're going to learn to steal because that's the way to get ahead. What do you learn in secular school? What do you learn? You learn to have a wife before she's even your... you learn to have a girlfriend before she's your wife? What do you learn? He says, over 1 million kids are walking to school between 8 and 8:30. How could I eat? That's a person that understands the value of Am Yisrael. Alvay Aleinu to understand such a value for Am Yisrael, because when you understand the value of Am Yisrael, you also understand the value of bringing them back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when a person really wants to help Am Yisrael do tshuva, he's simply willing to do anything. Anything possible. All types of sacrifices, whether it be monetary, physically, anything. And it's hard to find people that are willing to do it because everybody has their own line. So that's why I always tell you guys, you have to have merit to do kiruv. So how do you get merit to do kiruv? You have to learn Torah. Without learning Torah, it's impossible for your kiruv to work. Because even if you want to do kiruv, even if you want to help people, you have to have some merit yourself. You have to learn something yourself. You have to be a servant of Hashem yourself. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not like hypocrites. He wants people to help his people, but he's not willing to just give that merit to just anyone. So that's why we have to constantly learn, whether it's learning Musar, or it's learning the parasha, or it's learning halacha or gemara, or whatever it is you're learning, you have to constantly learn. This is one of the key ingredients to being successful when it comes to kiruv. There's a lot more to say, but I'm sure you guys have some questions. So, who wants to start with some questions? Sutton.
Is there a mic?
No mic today.
No mic. All right. So sometimes in different books you see quotes from like the Zohar or mystical books. So therefore, like, how do you know what Kabbalah is okay to learn?
Chazak Baruch. Okay, so that's a very good question. Now you see quotes, and sometimes even I mention quotes from the Zohar. So how come that Zohar is allowed, but the other Zohar is not allowed? Okay, so you should know that there is several different parts to Kabbalah in the Zohar. It's not just all one thing. Much of what you see in books, practically all of it, and all of what I say to you, is the midrashic part of the Zohar. That's a midrash that you're allowed to learn, no problem. The one that we're talking about that you're forbidden to learn is the one that discusses the names of angels and different specific unique acts that a person needs to do in order to sanctify themselves and start changing nature, if you will. It's called Kabbalah Ma'asit. This is also part of it, and also separate from it. There's also Kabbalah that's separate from the Zohar. And that's something that you're only allowed to learn from a Rav, from a very, very serious Rav. Now, generally speaking, it's not something that you're going to find on YouTube. Anyone that tells you he's teaching Kabbalah on the internet, default belief, he's a liar. The liar. There's no such thing as Kabbalah on the internet, not because I've investigated everyone that calls themselves Kabbalah, but rather because it's, number one, not possible. Not possible. Number two, you cannot teach just anybody Kabbalah. Number three, those people that say that obviously don't know Kabbalah, because if they did, they wouldn't be offering to teach it. Because when you deal with that type of Kabbalah, it's not like teaching regular Torah. It could be dangerous, we put it that way. Because what ends up happening is that for really mystical stuff, involves angels and things of that nature. And angels are not like a Kadosh Baruch Hu. They don't have the same mercy as a Kadosh Baruch Hu. No one does. But so much so that some of them, if you say their name, just saying their name, without learning anything, doing anything, just saying their name, just say their name, they immediately check who you are. If you're not ra'ui, meaning you're not holy enough to say their name, they could hurt you. Hurt you seriously. And that's why one time I spoke to my Rav, and we're talking about all different types of things that I had in my house. I used to have these little bull statues in my house because I was on Wall Street, and these eagles, and he told me, remove this, you're not allowed to have this, not allowed to have that. Okay, fine. So I got rid of it. And I told him, listen, I have one thing like in my house that's really cool looking, and I guess it's holy, but I have no idea what it says. He says, what is it? I said, it's this picture with a bunch of Hebrew letters that some Rav, somebody gave it to me in the name of some Rav, because I donated a bunch of money, so they gave this to me. He says, what does it say? I said, I have no idea. I don't know how to read this stuff. I don't know. So can you take a picture of it? He says, yeah. So I took a picture of it, and I sent it to him. He only had a few words for me. Get rid of it. So I throw it in the garbage. He goes, no, chas v'shalom. Gniza. So what's gniza? He says, you have to give it to somebody that's going to go bury it, like a funeral. Not to have in your house. I said, why not? What's wrong with it? It's a nice picture. The frame alone was like $300-$400. So how come? He says, that's the names of angels. You can't have that in your house. So why not? He says, because those angels, they may not like you so much. Get it out. Rabbi says, you do. I liked it. The rabbi says, no good, it's no good. So everything that I tell you guys, usually I went through it. And the thing is, though, is that sometimes people don't want to hear it. They want to continue doing whatever they want to do. Don't say you weren't warned. Many times people want to have all of these supernatural, spiritual things in their house, in their life, and they want to read all types of things they don't know how to read, or they don't know what they're saying. As a Jew, you have to be an expert in the basics. The basics. And I promise you, The basics are so massive, it's going to take you a minimum of 20 years just to know what they are. When you know the entire Shulchan Aruch by heart, then maybe you could start doing a little bit of chumrot and stringencies and so on. Reality is most people don't even know how to read the Shulchan Aruch. So you have to focus on the basics. So when it comes to the Zohar, for example, there are midrashim in the Zohar you're allowed to read regardless of who and what you are as far as you're learning, because it's just a midrash, just like midrash Me'am Loez, midrash Rabbah, and so on and so forth. There's many midrashim. They give you like the background details of different things that happen at different times. That you're perfectly allowed. But once somebody says this is Kabbalah, either they're lying or you're not allowed to learn it. So you have to move to a different direction. How about next question?
Is it true that if it's not karet sins, then Gehinom would be maximum 12 months?
If it's not karet sins, Gehinom will be maximum 12 months?
Yeah, obviously we have to try not to go there.
Right, the idea is to hopefully not go there, not go to Gehinom at all. But are you asking if it's not karet, it's maximum 12 months? Yes and no. It depends on the sin itself. There are some sins that you don't even go to Gehinom for. You go to Kafakela instead. And Kafakela is a lot more adventurous than Gehinom. So Gehinom is not the default. Kafakela is a place, Gemara Masechet Shabbat, the last section, I think maybe 154 in Masechet Shabbat, talks about, we learn it from Avigail. Avigail was one of the wives of David HaMelech. And Avigail says to David HaMelech, may your enemies all go to Kafakela. And we learn, Gemara says, what's this Kafakela? And Gemara says, Kafakela is a place where there's these Malachei Kabbalah, these special angels of destruction, where they slingshot the soul from one end of the universe to the other while whipping it with all types of fires and fun stuff. For how long? It depends on the sin. So for example, there is a seance done that they brought one of the Zionist leaders in that seance, and he said that he was in Kafakela for 50 years. 1 year for every time he cheated on his wife. So, and that's before Gehinom. That's before Gehinom. Now, when it comes to 12 months in Gehinom and things of that nature, again, it depends on the sin. If, let's say, for example, somebody stole, he doesn't go to Gehinom. He has to come back in a Gilgul. He has to pay back whoever he stole the money from. So if he comes back as a human being, that means he has to work for that person that he stole from. Or maybe he's going to come back as a horse. Like we have a story from the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov we had Ruach HaKodesh, knew that one of the horses of one of his Talmidim had a soul of his neighbor, of his friend that owed him money. He had to come back as a horse and serve his neighbor until he died, just for owing him $500 or something like that. So he knew that this soul had to come back. He couldn't go to Gan Eden, couldn't go anywhere. Why? Because he stole money. When you owe money to people and you could pay back, you don't pay them back, it's considered stealing. So, and if you stole outright, you can't go to Gan Eden, even if you kept Shabbat and everything else. It's very, very important for people to know that with blood on your hands, meaning stolen money on your hands, you cannot enter Gan Eden, even if you kept the rest of the Torah. If you stole money from people, you have to return the money in order to go to Gan Eden. It's very, very important for you to return it. Now, what happens if the person that you stole it from doesn't exist anymore, or you have no contact to them, or perhaps it's a company, a big company, where you know that if you go to this company and you give them the money, maybe they'll arrest you. Or you have no way of returning the company money. Let's say it's a big company, and you can't go to the cashier and say, hey, listen, 20 years ago I stole $500 worth of Twix from you. Here's the money. You're going to give it to the cashier. Cashier puts it in a pocket. She's not giving it to Walgreens. So what do? That kind of money of either a person you cannot reach after you've tried, or an entity that could put you in danger, that money you have to donate it for something that's going to benefit the public, where in the name of those people, So in the name of that organization or the person that you stole, and just in your mind you do it. You don't have to write on a check, this is in the name of Walgreens, this is in the name of Steve. You don't have to do that. Just in your mind. I am, donating this money to this public benefit to make up for the money that I stole 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 30 years ago. And that way you give it to the benefit of the public. Now what's benefits the public? It could be a homeless shelter, it could be kiruv, it could be some park that benefits society, all types of things that benefit the public, and you do it that way. That way you clean yourself up. Now what if you don't have the money, meaning you stole 5,000 but really you only have 500? Well, start with 500 and then work yourself up and little by little give the rest of the money. You don't have to pay it all back in one shot if you don't have it. But if you have it, pay it back as soon as possible because you don't know if you're going to survive. You don't know how long you're going to live. Don't make a payment plan where you don't need one. So for a sin like that, like stealing, a person can't go to Gan Eden and he can't go to Gehinom either. He has to get an opportunity to recover it. Now if a person is got enough chances to recover stolen money, and he didn't recover it, and Hashem says no more gilgulim for this person, then the Reshit Chochmah says there's a special malach, a few group of malachim that feed him sand in Gehinom, in one of the sections. They feed him sand over there. You can see in the shiur I did about Gehinom, it talks about that. Not a fun thing, I promise you. It's not tasty, and it's not even soft sand either. No sauce, nothing. So bottom line is, you stole something, return it. That's my suggestion. Now, for other types of sins, it all depends on who, what, when, and what you did. But remember though, you didn't commit just one sin. What everybody keeps saying about Gehinom is 1 year, Gehinom is 1 year, which is one quote in the Gemara Masechet Rosh Hashanah, and also in a few other places says Gehinom is 12 months. That's implying you made one sin. Who here can tell me they made one sin today? Today, one sin today. So obviously you realize that if you made one sin, let's say that sin got you a month sentence. Now by the end of the day you probably made 5 sins. So let's say you probably got 2 months. The next day you made another few sins. You got 3 months. By the end of the week you already had a year. By the time you got to 30 years old, you probably have 30,000 years. Unless you do tshuva. You say, Chatati, Aviti, Pashati, I'm sorry, Kadosh Baruch Hu, I'm going to do better. Already, from the second you say I'm sorry, you're already cutting your sentence. You start doing mitzvot, Ishtabach Shemo La'ad. You start doing serious tshuva, you could actually turn all of your past sins to mitzvot. Imagine how much an account we have of sins, Hashem Yishmo. How many sins we have, turn all that into mitzvot, you're a tzaddik yesod olam. You're the Baal Shem Tov when you go out to Shamayim. From sins. Now, what if you want to avoid all Gehinom altogether? There's one ticket that I know of that exists. My Rav taught me this. Hard for me to accept in the beginning because I didn't really think Am Yisrael was such a big deal at first. I just thought I love Hashem, so that's why I want to do kiruv. But then the more you get to meet Am Yisrael, the more you fall in love with them. Especially when you deal with them, with their problems and their suffering, and you suffer with them, Baruch Hashem. So I started realizing more and more how important kiruv was, and then I realized, wow, what a chesed from Hashem. The only way to avoid Gehinom altogether is if you make kiruv your business. Meaning, you deal with it daily. That's your main thing. Not that you don't have a regular job. Not that you're a rabbi that speaks. Not that you give out to, but simply kiruv is a permanent part of your life. If you're, let's say, making a living, automatically, without questions asked, you're giving at least Maaser or more to kiruv. But effective kiruv, not kiruv that brings church, the priest to the synagogue. Real kiruv that actually helps people do tshuva. That's what the Zohar Kadosh says. It says anybody that deals with zikui arabim, they cannot even talk to him at the Beit Din of Shamayim. They say, go. We can't talk to you. You're too much of a tzaddik for us. That's the only thing that I know of that I've ever heard of that simply is no Gehinom whatsoever. Why? Because you've created so many Baalei Tshuva by the time you arrive at Shamayim, that there's a Mishnah in Avot says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not want the Rav, meaning the guy that gave the CDs every single day, the guy that gave flyers every day, the guy that made movies every day, the guy that spoke to people every day, the guy that did kiruv every day, the guy that gave Maaser every day, which means that his job, even if he's working for the utility company of Florida, but he's donating $500 a month because that's his Maaser, his job becomes kiruv. That guy is, that's it, his whole job is kiruv. We can't talk to him. Why? Because he's a Rav. What do you mean he's a Rav? He wasn't a Rav. No, he's a Rav. Look at how many Baalei Tshuva he created. We cannot put him in Gehinom and his Talmidim in Gan Eden. They'll suffer. They'll suffer that they're Rabbi. The guy that gave him a CD is in Gehinom. So we cannot. By default, he has to go to Gan Eden. Which is unbelievable chesed from Hashem. Why? Because not only are you doing something good, but you actually get paid for it. Which is unbelievable. Because sometimes the kiruv that you do with your family, you do with your friends, you do with people that are obviously part of your nation. You're doing something that's kindness, and you're getting paid for it. So that's one thing that I know of. Aside from that, again, remember, all of the different things that happen in the world as far as people that are trying to tell you to lower the sentence, it's not that we want to increase the sentence. We don't want anyone that's righteous to go to Gehinom. Only the wicked. Not that we want them to, but that's what the Torah says. So you have to understand. Every sin has a different sentence, and every sin has its separate sentence. Meaning some sins, they're going to get the person to the first level of Gehinom. Some sins go to the second level of Gehinom. Some sins are 1 month, some sins are 2 months, some sins are 2,000 years, some sins are permanent. So it all depends. So a person that just, let's say for example, goes to the 5th level, let's say of Gehinom, chas v'shalom, that doesn't mean that just once they finish the 5th level, they go to Gan Eden. They now have to go get retried to see where they're at. They may have to go to the 4th level, the 3rd level, the 2nd level, 1st level, just to get out of this whole thing. So it's not so pashut to just say, no, everybody goes to Gehinom for 1 year, that's it. That would make Hashem evil. If everyone got the same sentence, that would make HaKadosh Baruch Hu evil. And that's what the Ramban writes in Shara Gmul. You cannot say that everyone has the same sentence. Why? Because it doesn't make any sense that someone that murdered people on a regular basis his entire life is going to get the same sentence as someone that stole for, let's say, 2 years of his life. It doesn't make sense that they're going to get the same sentence as somebody that raped. It doesn't make sense that they're going to make the same sentence as somebody that violated Shabbat every single day for 50 years. It doesn't make sense as somebody else that was a missionary. It doesn't make sense that all of them are going to get 1 year. To say that Hashem is going to give everyone the same sentence would turn Hashem into an evil God. So that's why anyone that tells you maximum 1 year, either it's because they're a liar, or they're ignorant, which sometimes is worse, or a combination of both, or they just want your money and they care less about the truth. They just want you to say, make you feel good, you're a tzaddik, don't worry, no matter what you do, you go in there for a year, just give me some tzedakah and everything's good. That could also be it. Either way, you have to use your mind, you have to use your logic. If I robbed the candy store, worst case scenario, I'm gonna spend the night at Central Bookings. Worst case, if let's say the Walgreens supervisor is an anti-Semite, he'll get me arrested, I'll go to prison for a day, a jail for a day, and they'll release me the next morning after the judge says it's a petty crime, get out of here. Worst case. But if I run a Ponzi scheme, and I steal 30, 40, 50 million dollars, don't think you're going to Central Bookings for a day. You're not. If I murdered 1 person, or 2, or 5, and I was one of these killers, I'm not going to jail for 1 day, or a week, or a month. Why? It's a different crime. So if a human being understands that different crimes have different sentences, needless to say, the Borei Barach knows that different crimes have different sentences. We just have to sometimes know there are many, many liars in the world that are simply trying to pacify you to make you feel good. Why? Because when you feel good, your pocket automatically becomes bigger. And that's what happens a lot of times. People are looking for popularity contests. But I'm not looking for popularity, I'm looking to get you guys out of Gehinom. And the reality is, it's not so difficult. It's not so difficult. All you got to do, number 1, stop sinning. The big sins. The obvious ones. Stop. Sur mira v'aseh tov. First thing, when it comes to Torah, when it comes to teshuvah, stop the sins. Stopping the sins is not slowly. Stopping the sins is immediately. Everything you know is big, not allowed, don't do it. Don't do it. You did it, do teshuvah right away. Don't play around. It's not like some people say, oh no, maybe I don't want to go too fast. Okay, you don't want to go too fast with learning. You can't go to learn 12 hours a day, no problem. That's fine, that's a mitzvah. But the evil that you're doing, yeah, it's not. There's no slow motion here. There's no stop killing people slowly. There's no just rape one girl a week. There's no such thing. You have to stop right away. Stop violating Shabbat. Stop eating pig. Stop violating the Torah of things that you know right away. First thing, stop. Second thing is, gather as many mitzvot as you could possibly get. Every mitzvah you could possibly do. Third, help other people do the same. Stop sins, do mitzvot, help people do mitzvot. Help people stop sinning. That's it. You do all what I just said, very, very, 3-step instructions, very simple. The entire Torah Kula, you're going to Gan Eden. But if you don't stop sinning, step 2 and 3 are not going to help you so much. If you just stop sinning, but you don't do mitzvot, it's only a matter of time you're going back to the sins because you have to do something with your time. If you think you're going to sin and do mitzvot together at the same time, do whatever you want, and your kiruv is going to work, it's not going to work. Manus Friedman thinks he's doing kiruv. Dor Kasuta thinks he's doing kiruv. All of these kofrim think they're doing kiruv. Everybody thinks they're doing kiruv. What's the results? You see the results. You see the results. One of the Talmidim of Dor Kasuta just opened up a new scam. Conversions. A conversion program. This is where they're starting. They're publicizing a kosher conversion program. Where's the bedin? We don't know. How much does it cost? Depends who you are. Where can I live? Anywhere you want. Do I have to live next to a Jewish community? No. You can just pay us and everything's okay. Fees? Yeah, just send us this month, that month, this month, that much. For what? Videos that we have online for free. All types of unusual things. Who's running the program? A non-Jew. It can't get better than this. It cannot get better than this, guys. Who's running the program? Non-Jews. Conversion program. That's Talmid of Dor Kasuta. I know this for a fact. I saw it in my own eyes. So, you have to understand. You know who the Rav is based on his Talmidim. If it's Talmidim, Amalachei HaSharet, that speaks highly of the Rav. If the Talmidim, a Korach ve'adato, that speaks of the Rav also. So, first thing first, stop sinning. Second, mitzvot, as many as you possibly can. Every mitzvah you know, you have an opportunity, chase it. Do whatever you can to fulfill the mitzvah. Praying every single day, learning every single day, doing chesed, tzedakah, kosher food. By the way, I just found a new mitzvah, ishtabach shemolad, a new mitzvah. Today I found a new mitzvah. I learned this new mitzvah. There's a mitzvah in the Torah that if you have a roof, you have to build a fence so nobody falls off the roof, right? A makeh. I don't know what a makeh is. A windowsill, I guess. Something that's going to protect people. Now, most of us don't have these roofs. How do you fulfill this mitzvah today? If you have a pool, right? You have a pool and you have little kids. You have little kids in your house. How many asonot, how many disasters have we heard, Hashem Yishmo, of kids falling into the pool and drowning? You don't want to fulfill a mitzvah? Spend some money, put something around that pool, mitzvah. Mitzvah from the Torah. Why? You're protecting people from danger. Mitzvah from the Torah. Yeah, it's going to cost you, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, I don't know how much this stuff costs. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Levu alai ve'ani poreah. Borrow the money if you have to, and I'll pay you back. Why? For my mitzvot, 100% cash. So what'd you build? You build a little fence to protect your own kids. For your own kids, your own benefit. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, no, it's your own benefit, but I'm going to pay for it. Why? It's my mitzvah. You fulfilled my mitzvah. You're protecting little kids. Ishtabach shemo, mitzvah from the Torah. All types of things that protect people, mitzvah. So, it's very, very important to take advantage of these mitzvot. It's easy mitzvot. Sometimes, people ask me, can I just say one shakol for the whole day? Yeah, technically you can. If you're in the house all day, you don't leave the house, you could say one blessing, say shakol niya midvaro, and have kavanah that it means for all of the food that's shakol for the whole day. But why would you want to do that? Why wouldn't you want to do bracha every time you eat? Or sometimes people say, listen, does this need to be birkat hamazon? Can I just do mezonot on it? Why would you do less of bracha? Why would you want to miss out on birkat hamazon? Do every mitzvah you possibly can. Every mitzvah you possibly can. Now technically you could say one shakol, if you're in the same location the whole day, you're not leaving the house, and you're going to be there all day working on your computer or learning or whatever it is, you could do one shakol for everything that's shakol for that day. Or if, let's say, for example, you have in your mind that you're going to eat several fruits, you could do a blessing of borei pri etz for one fruit, but have kavanah that it means other etz that you're going to eat. You can do that. But if you have an opportunity to do other blessings, let's say you know that you can eat this one now, and the other one maybe in an hour, maybe in a half hour, maybe this, don't have the kavanah for both of them. Do another blessing. It's another mitzvah. That's why David the Melech had a takana. He says that every Jew has to do 100 blessings a day. You do 100 blessings a day, for sure you have Hashem in your mind all day. You have Hashem in your mind all day, you go into Gan Eden. So it's not that hard to get to Gan Eden, but it requires stop sinning. Without stop sinning, nothing works. Nothing works. And it's very hard for some people to stop sinning because they're connected to a sin somehow. Either it's a person that they're with intimately, their wife, a husband that they're not allowed to be with, a girlfriend, Hashem Yishmo, a business, a profession, whatever it is. There's certain people that are tied to the sin, mamash, like it's like in them. And it's a very, very hard tshuva for them, but they have to do it for themselves. They want to go to Gan Eden. Sometimes it's very hard, it's a big tikkun. But that's your test. That's your test, and you have to pass it. You pass that test, you're going to Gan Eden. Next question. Okay.
It sounds like almost like a contradiction, what the Rabbi said earlier.
Contradiction.
That a person who sins, the only get out of jail free card, so to speak, is if he's involved in kill firsthand.
Okay.
So you just said that a person can't do mitzvot or kibbutz, the second or third step, without getting rid of the sins. How does that?
No, so if everyone is going to sin. I'm going to sin, you're going to sin, en tzadik shelo yichta. Everybody's going to sin at some point, and then you do tshuva for that. Everyone sins. Everyone sins.
The person who's doing kibbutz,
but including the person that does kibbutz, he's going to. Everyone, even Shlomo HaMelech sinned. Everyone sins, and then you do tshuva. But the key is not to be glued to the sin, meaning not to actively sin, knowing that you're making a sin and not care. If you have a sin that you're connected to, and you're glued to, and you're simply not willing to let this one go. Guy has a girlfriend, he knows he's not allowed to have a girlfriend. Not willing to let her go. Whatever kiruv he's doing right now, there's no way that's going to work. Why? Because for that moment, whenever he has this mindset that he's not willing to let this one go, he is someone that's unfortunately not considered part of Amcha for that particular issue. Why? He's simply canceling a part of the Torah. Now, if you sin, you fall and do tshuva. Fall, do tshuva. That's one thing. But if you simply decide my life is going to be a sin on this part and no sins on that part, that's a very serious problem. So it all depends. If a person wants to do serious tshuva, he has to stop the big sins and he has to make sure he stops the sins that he knows about. And that may take him time, but he has to stop them. Kiruv may help him get the merit, to get the strength to stop sinning. But as far as the kiruv itself being effective to get many people to do tshuva, that only happens if he has mamash merit, like serious merit. There are many people that try to give lectures or give CDs or share things and do different things, but the results are minimal in comparison to other people. And it's not because the other people are better speakers or they give more CDs out or they have more money. It's not because of that. It all depends on the merit of the person. Where the merit comes from how he, number one, cleans himself up or herself up, make themselves holy. So that's the stop sinning. That's the stop sinning part. You have to make yourself kadosh. or kedusha. That's the stop sinning part. Second thing is mitzvot, mainly learning Torah. The more Torah you learn, the more holy you're going to be. After you do those two things, come mesirut nefesh, sacrifice. Sacrifice for the sake of Am Yisrael, sacrifice for Torah, sacrifice for the sake of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, all of these different parts, they may come all at the same time, they may come at different times. And you're going to be tested in different ways. But the point being is that it's not that one guy is able to do kiruv because he is a good speaker, and one guy can't do kiruv because he's a bad speaker. No. Sometimes you have the worst speaker in the world do the most amount of kiruv. One example, Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, worst speaker in history. He had a stammer and a stutter. In so many words, can't talk. Can't talk. Imagine if instead of me speaking to you, it would be like you had A, and B, and C. That's Moshe Rabbeinu. That was Moshe Rabbeinu, unless he was teaching Torah. When he was teaching Torah, there was a Kadosh Baruch Hu speaking from his throat. Worst speaker in the world without Torah. With Torah, Kadosh Baruch Hu spoke from his throat. So it's not that one is a good speaker, bad speaker. What did Moshe Rabbeinu have over everybody else? Aside from the fact that he had amazing midot, he was the most anav, most humble person of all, mesirut nefesh. He was willing to sacrifice his life for Am Yisrael. So aside from learning Torah, fulfilling Torah, doing, perfecting his midot and so on, he's willing to sacrifice. So he did not succeed because of his natural human skill sets. He succeeded because of his maasim, his actions. When a person's actions show Hashem that he cares and he wants to be holy, he wants to be a representative of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he or she can succeed in getting all of Am Yisrael to do tshuva. When he's showing that really he's trying to make himself successful, not so much. One of the examples is somebody came to Rav Miponovich, and Rav Miponovich had an event. One thing that Rav Miponovich had, he had always had people looking to hear him speak. Always wanted to hear him speak. Rav Miponovich had a huge yeshivot and mosdot and helped orphans and the needy and so on. He mamash built a Torah empire and needed millions and millions of dollars to support this. So he would have different events and people would donate money. And the Rav Miponovich one time was one of the events, and a guy that came from Slabotka came to the event to raise money. He didn't know it was the Rav Miponovich's event. He came to speak. But as soon as he saw the Gdol Ador is over there, okay, I'm not going to raise any money today, but okay, whatever, I'll give them a Dvar Torah. I'll give them a Dvar Torah, and I'll just sit there and listen to the Rav speak. So before he went on, he spoke to the Rav Miponovich. Who are you? So I have a yeshiva, a small yeshiva in Slabotka, trying to raise some money, that's what we're here. Oh, okay, Baruch Hashem. Chazaku Baruch, Chazaku Baruch. How many people? This, that, what do you do? Okay, Baruch Hashem. Okay. He went and spoke, gave a little Dvar Torah, and then the Gdol Ador comes. Rav Miponovich speaks, and he starts telling people the things that break your heart. What happened in the Holocaust. How they tortured Am Yisrael. How they starved. How they were murdered. How they took babies and tortured. All types of horrible, horrible things. Mamash breaks your heart. And then all the things of what they're doing now, and how they're learning Torah, and you're taking these babies and turning them into Talmidei Chachamim, and so on and so forth. And everybody's already excited because, Baruch Hashem, you broke our heart, but you're lifting us, Shtabach Shimo. So people are starting to take their checks. In those days, there's no PayPal. There's no Venmo. Nowadays, people took their checkbooks everywhere. So people started to write checks. But before he finished, Rav Miponovich says, I know that all of you came here with a giving heart, and you're here to give, but I ask you to please, everything that you were planning to give it to him. Don't give it to me. The Rav, the visitor, shock of his life. Why? The Rav has millions of dollars of expenses. He has yeshivot. He has this. He needs the money. Why? I mean, just this whole event for him. Why is he giving me the money? He goes, no, for the Rav. He goes, shh, we'll talk later. Okay. Everybody, now they see he's giving to them. They decide, you know what? Let's give him more. Raised enough money to support his yeshiva for 3 years. After a few years, the Rav got together with the Rav Miponovich again. He saw him again. He says, Kvod Rav, I really appreciate what you did, but I have to ask you, why? The Rav has all types of buildings he has to build or he has to support. Why would you give it to me? And the Rav Miponovich tells him something that we all have to learn from. He says, what am I here for? What am I here? To build buildings? Am I here for people to say I'm a big rabbi? What am I here for? I'm here to make sure there's more Torah in the world. Now, yes, I have mosdot, I have yeshivot, and I have all that stuff, and we need the money, of course. But while I was talking, I realized, mamash siyata dishmaya, that if I tell everybody to donate to you, they're by default going to realize that I'm not here just giving them a lecture so they can give me money. I'm here for the sake of the Torah, and they're going to end up donating more money to you than they would donate to me. And what does that mean? That would mean there'll be more Torah in the world. So what do I care if they donate to me or they donate to you? They donate more money, there's going to be more Torah in the world. Ishtabach shemo. How many rabbis in the world do you have such like this? Sometimes you walk in, or I walk into a shul, people sometimes get excited. They say, oh, rabbi, rabbi, rabbi. Who's the only one who's not excited? The rabbi. Why? They think I'm here to take their job. Oh, what are you doing here? I live here. Oh, you're staying here for a while? No, I'm just here for tefillah. I'm leaving soon. Oh, okay. Where do you pray? What difference does it make? Let me just pray. Leave me alone. They start getting worried. Why? They think I'm here to take their job. Why do they care about their job so much? They care about donations. Oh, he's here, donate. One time, I gave a lecture at one place, and I don't ask people for donations. I don't charge for speeches, nothing. Except you people. I charge you guys $1,500 a head. Pay Sonny at the end. And Venmo, send Venmo. So anyway, I don't charge anything, but somebody invited me to an event, and I spoke, Baruch Hashem, we spoke, there were some people there, and sometimes people come at the end of the speech, they give me a few dollars, and Baruch Hashem, Chazaku Baruch, get a bracha, okay, Sada Shalom. So, the event was over. A little disappointing, the amount of people that showed up. A little disappointing that what happened, but whatever. We did what we did. Baruch Hashem, we tried. Now, at the end, I saw one guy that I know, and I said hi to him. And I said hi, then I left. And later on, like a few days later, he contacted me. He says, Rabbi, did you get it? I said, get what? He said, did you get the money that I gave you? I said, you didn't give me anything. Because what do you mean? I gave it to the rabbi to give it to you. I said, no, the rabbi, you could ask the rabbi, you didn't give me the money. He goes, you're kidding me. I said, no, I'm not kidding you. I'm not going to go call the rabbi, hey, by the way, you stole my money. I'm like, if you want, call the rabbi. He goes, no, I don't know, it's on, okay, I'll send you. What happened? I went, did a free event, and the rabbi stole the money. Why? When you're money hungry, when that's your reason for why you're doing this role, then rabbi is not your role. You're a businessman that pretends to be a rabbi. You're a businessman. And that's unfortunately what happens a lot. If you are worried about money, you should not be a rabbi. Should not be a rabbi. Yes, of course you need money to build, and you need money to support, and everything costs a ton of money, 100%. But if that's the reason why you're doing it, you shouldn't be a rabbi. Why? Go be a businessman. Go open some mall. Go build buildings. Go do real estate. Go be a doctor. Go be a lawyer. Go mow lawns. Do whatever. Don't be a rabbi. Why? You're not supposed to be doing it for money. And that's what happens many times, is people get impressed. Get impressed when they see, oh, this rabbi built a yeshiva, he's got 300 kids there, Baruch Hashem. One of the Gedolei Ador saw that his Talmidim were impressed by a rabbi that opened a yeshiva, he's got 300 kids. And every time he would come to the yeshiva, he would dance with them. Dance with the kid, wow, such a tzaddik. Such a tzaddik, he's dancing with his kids every time, every day he comes to the yeshiva. What a tzaddik he is, right, Rabbi? He says, I don't know. Does he dance when somebody else opens a yeshiva with 300 kids? Meaning, is he dancing because of the Torah that he's producing and that's in the world now? Or is he dancing because he succeeded? Because if he's dancing of the Torah that's being produced, then he should be dancing just as much if somebody else did it. If somebody else opened a yeshiva next door to him with 3,000 kids, would he dance just as much? Or he'd say, can't believe he beat me. I can't believe he opened a bigger bit Knesset than me. I can't believe his campaign worked. Can't believe he raised $100,000. Why do you can't believe? Why are you hating? If you're hating, that means you're not a rabbi. That means you're not holy. That means you're a businessman. And that's what happens many times. When you focus too much on the money, problem is you cannot help people that way. You lose all of the siyata d'ishmaya. So it's important to know that yes, money is involved. It is in essence a business, but it should never be the reason why you do it. You have to make sure that you're doing it for the right reason, to honor Hashem, to publicize Torah, to help people. Everything else is secondary. And it's a very hard test. I can tell you that it's a very, very hard test because most people, that's one of their top desires is money. That's their desire. They think that money means safety, money means security, money means success, and so on and so forth. And that's how you measure yourself. This is also the reason why I personally, for myself, one of the things that I do for myself, to help myself, is I don't talk to people about money. If people call me, oh listen, I want to donate, can I call you? No. Call Naomi, call Batya, call somebody else, call Ghostbusters, don't call me. Yeah, but I want to talk about something else. Oh, something else I'll talk to you about. Something else I'll talk to you about. Money, don't talk to me about. You want to donate? Donate. It's on you. Don't you raise money? No. I don't raise money. I press share on the internet. Anyone wants to donate? Donate. That's what I do. Other than that, I don't talk to anybody. I don't convince anybody for money. Why? Because I know I'm a businessman. I was a businessman for my whole life. If I call you, I'll convince you to donate your mother. If I'm trying to sell you, you'll donate your parents, your dog, your cat, you'll donate everything. But that means you'll never listen to me again. And that means I can't help you anymore. If I put on my salesman hat, yeah, we'll get the money, but we'll lose the siyata d'ishmaya. We'll lose everything. And then it turns into a business. I don't want to be in a business. If I want to be in business, go back to Wall Street. Pays better. You understand? So, it's a rule for myself that I do for myself. That to help myself, my own yetzara, don't talk to people about money. You want to talk about money? Call one of the people, call the assistants, call the people that deal with it, tell them what you want to donate. They'll take your little credit card, they'll give you the address, that's it. Yeah, but I want to donate a lot. Donate a lot, donate a little, donate whatever you want. Don't talk to me about money. Don't want to do it. Why? It's just I know my yetzara. You start up, people always try to say, oh, listen, Rabbi, I want to do this. Do whatever you want. Let's move on to the next conversation. Next. I'll talk about your money for you. I'll help you with your money, of what to invest in. You need one of my students is now opening a new factory, and he wants to do all these different things. He asked me for help and guidance about that. No problem. I'll help you for free. But you want to start talking about me to convince you to donate? Never. Never happened. The day I start asking you guys for specific things and start convincing you guys, hey, listen, do me a favor, we have a campaign. I start doing that, delete. Delete my number, delete everything. Why? No siyata d'ishmaya. I'm serious. Cannot do both. Cannot be a businessman and someone that helps people at the same time. Spiritually. Can't. Now, Rabbi Ponovich himself suffered a lot because of this. Because he knew he had to build enormous yeshivot and so on. But that restricted him as far as how much he was able to teach and how much he was able to learn. But he did it as a sacrifice for the sake of Am Yisrael. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to raise money. It's just that it limits your ability to teach, it limits your ability to help people specifically. Why? Because again, people are usually not going to look at you the same once you become the guy that asks them for money constantly. Now, if you have your assistant do it, you have somebody else do it, no problem. But if you're the one that does it, it becomes problematic. So, and that's what happens a lot. Next question. Yeah.
Parsha Vayera, the section where Ishmael is shooting arrows at Isaac.
Okay.
Rashi commenting the word for mocking, and it says connotates idolatry, it connotates murder,
Okay.
and sexual immorality.
Okay.
But in later, in Parshat Toldot, it mentions a section where Isaac is destined with Rebecca. He used that same word.
Show him. The bathroom is on the outside.
So it still uses Rebecca.
Okay.
So
What's the question?
Why would that word that contains like the three top sins be used for two righteous individuals?
Why the three top sins for two what?
Righteous individuals, Rebecca and Isaac.
So the issue that you have is the Gemara learns specific things from specific words. Ishmael was guilty at some point before he did TeShuva of many different sins, including idolatry, including all types of things. But actually, the Gemara says that Ishmael did TeShuva eventually. Now, when it comes to Rivka herself was a tzedakah, but she didn't have the same merits as Yitzchak because her parents were idol worshippers. So her merit was lesser. So that's one of the things that you learned from her. That's how you connect it. Her brother, her parents were not such good people. So that's one of the things that we learned. That's one of the ways that Chachamim learned that her merit was lesser, if you will, than Yitzchak, who his father was Avraham Avinu. Sonny.
So, how does a person give tzedakah or maaser from stocks?
How does a person give maaser or tzedakah from stocks?
Meaning, like, if he wants to take a long position
Yeah.
for 3, 4, 5 months a year,
Yeah.
there's 100,000 in there. One day it's going to be 50, 120. It's good.
How does he give maaser? Okay, so from stocks, from investments, not just stocks. So let's say a person has a $100,000 in cash or $10,000 or whatever the number is, it's all relative, and he wants to invest it. And the investment goes up in value, Be'ezrat Hashem. Now, he does not have to give maaser on the money until he realizes that gain. Meaning, so long as he did not sell that investment, it's not a real gain. It's an unrealized gain, and therefore he does not have to give maaser on it, and he should not give maaser on it, because he doesn't really have the profit yet. Even if the $10,000 went to $1 million. He bought a stock at $1 and it went to whatever it went to, and he made $1 million. Now, until he sells that stock, it's not really $1 million. It's paper gains. It only becomes realized gains once he exits the position. The minute he exits the position, he has to calculate his gain, and he has to take maaser from that gain, whatever the gain is. Let's say he went 10,000, turned into 100,000, so he has $90,000 in gain. He has to take 10% at least of the $90,000, $9,000, and give that as maaser. After that, he reinvests the money into something else. This becomes a lot more complicated for people that day trade. And the reason why is because they do so many transactions, the vast majority of them lose or break even. Some of them gain, but so little that they end up losing. So it becomes much more problematic to gain maaser. For something like that, usually you're not going to be able to do a maaser like I just explained, because you're holding on to position for could be seconds or minutes. So usually people that have yirat shamayim, they are going to give maaser based on the gains on a quarterly basis, on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis, depending. Generally speaking, the word of advice is to try to give maaser as often as you gain it. Meaning, as soon as you got a gain, try to get the maaser. And why is that? Because until you give the maaser, you don't have a benefit from it. You don't have a mitzvah in your hand. Now, why would you want a mitzvah? A couple came to Rabbi Yehuda Ftaya, alav shalom, and they told him, Kvod Rav, we have a boy that's supposed to do a brit milah, but the father is very, very sick, and he's not going to be able to attend the brit milah. So we thought maybe we should delay the brit milah until B'ezrat Hashem, maybe the father's going to get better in a few days, and we can do the brit milah. What does the Rav think? Rabbi Yaron looked at him, he says, do the Brit Milah right now. Oh, and you shouldn't wait? No, right this second. Right now you do it. Wait, tomorrow we'll do it. We have to get the Moel. No, right now do it. Right away. Get a Moel right now. Do whatever you can to get the Moel right now and do the Brit Milah. So, the couple come to one of the biggest rabbis in the world, the Mekubal, someone that talks to the people of the other world on a regular basis. He says, do Brit Milah right now. You do the Brit Milah right now. So, they call the Moel. The Moel comes. Everybody's ready to see the little baby get Brit Milah. All of a sudden, they see the father come out of the room dancing, Mizrahi music. Like he was never sick in his life. They did the Brit Milah, but then after that, okay, we have to go back to the Rav, explain to us what just happened here. A few hours ago, the guy was gosses, was almost dying. Now he's dancing? No. So they come to Rabbi Yaron and they say, for the Rav, Lamdeni, teach us. What happened here? What is it, like a Kabbalah thing? He said, no, not Kabbalah at all. He says, you see, when someone gets sick, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to send an angel to heal him. Right? Send an angel, Raphael. Send Raphael to heal the person that's sick. But sometimes the person doesn't have the merit to get Raphael to come visit him right away. He has to suffer a little bit. A week, a month, a year, whoever. So how do you get an angel to come? How do you get an angel to come to heal you if you don't have the merit to get the angel to come? Since you told me you have a Brit Milah. What happens in the Brit Milah? Eliyahu Navi comes. The angel Eliyahu Navi comes. The prophet Eliyahu Navi comes. And they tell Eliyahu Navi, listen, Eliyahu, since you're already going down there, we're supposed to go there next week to heal this guy. Why don't you just take care of that also? Heal the guy. You got Eliyahu Navi. That's why I told you, do Brit Milah right now. Bring the angel right now. So when you have Maaser, when you have any mitzvah in front of you, that mitzvah is the most important mitzvah in the world. Meaning, on Monday morning, you just got out of the bathroom. What's more important? Keeping Shabbat or saying Asher Yatzar? Saying Asher Yatzar. Why? Now if you violate Shabbat, it's karet. If you don't say Asher Yatzar, it's not karet. So how come Asher Yatzar is more important? Because Asher Yatzar is right now. Because you just went to the bathroom, you have to say Asher Yatzar. Shabbat is in 5 days from now. You understand? So right now, the mitzvah you have right now, that's the most important mitzvah in the world. So when you got income, you got a paycheck, most important mitzvah, give Maaser right away. Do not delay. Why don't delay? It's an opportunity to do mitzvah. Yeah, but I could do even a mitzvah later on when I gather $5,000 instead of $50. Why? You have an opportunity to do this, share this mitzvah over 500 times instead of one time. Yeah, but maybe it's going to help more if I give 5,000. Who is it going to help? It's going to help you. You could do more mitzvot. Every time you give, it's another mitzvah. You should do that. You should do mitzvot as often as possible, even though it's sometimes difficult to do it. Whether it's you're only making small money, so it's not like every time you get $20, you take maaser out of it and you give it to somebody. So the way you already start developing the mitzvah is you already separate the money. Meaning, you don't necessarily have to give it to the end user, to the organization right away. Let's say you got $20 then, $5 there, $500 there, and so on. You don't want to give every single day. So what do? You take the maaser out of the money right away. You put it in a box or some special account, and then when you decide to give it, you give it. But the key is to try separate that money from your money immediately, like it's kilaim. You guys know what kilaim is? Kilaim is we're not allowed to grow two different fruits together and root them together to make a new fruit. It's forbidden. Two items, right. So you're not allowed to do two different things. It's forbidden. So when you have to look at your money as if the maaser money and your money are kilaim. They're forbidden to be next to each other. Separate the money. Why? Because that once you get yourself used to separating the money right away, you already start thinking, it's not my money. It's not my money. This is money. Hashem gave me 100%. I got to take his share. 10% over here, 90% over here. Finished. And then whatever you decide to give it to whoever you want to give it to at that point. But you have to be Very, very strict when it comes to it, and you have to try to do it as often as you can, simply because, like I said, it's a mitzvah. And you got to try to do as many mitzvot as possible. So as far as investments, the long and short of it is when the gains are realized. Gains are realized, especially when it comes to real estate, stocks, things like that could change value, aggressively in a short period of time. One day the stock is 10. So you have to take that into account, and don't give Maaser ahead of time, simply because, again, it could be a major change in a very short period of time. Do it only after you realize the gain. Oh, and last thing I could tell you, this I know from the business world, is for tax purposes, this has nothing to do with mitzvot, this is just a financial benefit. Some of my clients in the past, when I was in a business of investing people's money, when they would give Maaser to their whatever they wanted to do, they would actually give it in stock form instead of in money form. Meaning, let's say they had 10,000 shares of XYZ company that appreciated in value. Instead of selling the stock and then giving Maaser from that, they would just give 1,000 shares to the entity. Why? Because when you sell the stock, you have to realize gains, you have to pay taxes on it. So whereas if you donate the actual shares to the company, then what ends up happening is that the company is they have to deal with the taxes, and if they're a non-profit, they don't have to pay taxes on it. So you have a tax gain from that. Now, don't do that if it's like $100. Like, don't bother the rabbi or the whoever you want to give it to for some $100 or $500 to open some brokerage account. If it's a substantial amount of money, it's tens of thousands of dollars, and it's significant, then it's worth it for them to have a brokerage account. Yeah, but if it's like $50, something like that, don't do that to them. Just give them the money, and you deal with the taxes. But if it's a substantial amount, they may even want to keep it. Who knows? But either way, that's a way that people take advantage of the U.S. tax code. U.S. tax code by giving away stock or actual an asset rather than giving the money itself. Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm taking up the time. It's not.
No, it's a question. You're from New York. You get special privileges.
You mentioned in the beginning of the show that it's worth it if you knew the value of saving one Jew, that you would pay up to $1 million, and that's cheap.
Okay, $2 million.
So, realistically, to what point do we value the spiritual life of one over 1,000, over 100, over 10,000?
No, you don't value one over anyone, meaning that
you
if
prioritize an investment.
Right. So when you have a investment, you have to look at what's going to be the most rewarding. Any investment that's spiritual and physical. You're not going to invest your hard-earned money in something. Let's say, for example, you have two opportunities. One opportunity is going to make you 5% a year. One opportunity can make you 50% a year. You don't have to be a financial guru to know that it's not worth it to invest in the 5% a year. If you have an opportunity, it can be 50% a year. Right? So now, if you have an opportunity to invest $1,000 to save one Jew, right? And then you have the same thing, $1,000 to save potentially 1,000 Jews. Where do you go? You go after 1,000 Jews. Why? Because it's obviously a bigger gain. So this is why it's critical for you to look at your donations as investments. As investments. You have to go try to save as many people as possible. This is also the reason why I tell people not to debate anyone. Not to go on these message boards on Facebook and all these other message boards and start fighting with people about their beliefs. It's a complete waste of time for a bunch of reasons. Number one, it's a waste of time because no one listens to each other. You could tell them every proof in the world, and you spend an hour and a half writing it, they wrote you a comment 30 seconds later. You know why? They didn't read it. They don't care. They don't care what you wrote and that you worked really hard on it. No one reads each other's comments. They're just there to hear themselves talk. Number two, it takes too much time to help this one person. And that time you can use and help 5 people that are easier customers. So instead of debating one guy, use that same time, give shiur to 10 people, to 100 people, to 1,000 people, that are willing to listen and not just fighting everything. There's no time to fight with people anymore. People ask me all the time, listen, my brother, he's an atheist, he's really knowledgeable about this, can you call him? No. No, but he's off the derech. Okay, I'm sorry. You can send him my movie. No, but he needs personal attention. Okay, pray for him then. Pray for him. Maybe Hashem send him a malach. It's not going to be me. Why? I can't spend an hour with him when I know I can use an hour to save 100 people. It's not fair. His blood is not more red than 100 people. It's not more red than 100 people. Yeah, he's your brother and you love him and I love him too. But I don't love him more than 100 people. So I can't spend an hour talking to him and convincing him to leave the Goya or to leave his boyfriend or to get over whatever sin he's doing and take that time that really I can use to help 100 people. So that's the thing. You have to look at your time as also part of the investment. Don't waste your time debating people that are just fighting with you tooth and nail about every little thing. Don't do it. Look for easy customers. There's a lot of them. The vast majority of Am Yisrael are yearning for the emet. They're yearning for truth. They want it. They just need somebody to tell them. Stop debating people and so on, because also you should know, people that do that, most of the time, it's not because they want to help the people. It's because they want to prove that they're right. It's all ego. Oh, see, yeah, I gave him 15 proofs. I told him this and this and this. Okay, did he do tshuva? No, but listen. And then I gave him 10 proofs, and he did this. Okay, but did he do tshuva? No, but listen. And then after that, I gave him the 30 proofs, and he did this. Did he do tshuva? No, but listen. And then I gave him 18 proofs, and I wrote him an email, and I sent him a movie, and he what? Did he do tshuva? No. Okay, so you wasted your time. No, but I gave him the proofs. Okay, so maybe your ego is going to go to Olam, but you're not going. Your ego may go to Gan Eden, but you're not going. Why? Because the whole thing you're doing it for your ego. You're not doing it for yourself. You're not trying to help people. Use that time to help people, not your ego. Don't have an event for your ego. Don't type 500-page letters on the internet for your ego. Help people. And how do you help people? Look for the largest crowd. Look for where you can help the most amount of people with the least amount of time. That's what you got to do. This is the reason why we continue doing the shurim, whether there's 20 of you, or 2 of you, or 200 of you. Because I know, Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has mercy on me, and he takes this shiur, he puts it on the internet, Ishtabach Shem Olad, it reaches tens of thousands of people, a day later, a week later, a year and a half later, however much later, but that shiur is there, it's not gone. If you're giving shurim, and you're not recording them, it's like it never happened. Why? Because the most you can do is just help the people in front of you. That's also one of the reasons why I don't do Shabbatons. A bunch of times people ask, well, can you do Shabbaton? I don't really want to be separated from my family. But the real reason is, I don't really want to help just a couple hundred people. I want to help more. And I rather spend that same time, energy, and resources to have an event outside of Shabbat. Why? Because outside of Shabbat, it goes on the internet. On Shabbat, I can only help people that show up. And the problem is, if people don't show up, like one time it happened to me, I went to I only did a couple of Shabbatons in my life. I did a Shabbaton, and I went there. It was nice people, wonderful, but there was only maybe 100 people. Maybe 100 people. The amount of time, the few days that I was there, the amount of resources we spent to make it happen, probably could have helped 10,000 people with that time. So, again, when you're doing it on Shabbat, you can't record it, so you limit it to how many people you can help in front of you. So it's okay sometimes, especially if that's the only way you could reach them, but if you have another way to reach more people, then do that. That's the same thing when it comes to your money. Invest your money where it's going to help the most amount of people. Invest your time where it's going to help the most amount of people, because that's what you care about. You care about helping people. And that's how you get a lot of merits. And it's the key is to look at it as an investment. Next question.
Sorry, just part B. I was really thinking of the kind of let's say a bachur who wants to go to yeshiva. He doesn't have enough money for the flight for tuition to get there.
Okay.
So should you put out your Maaser for like let's say $1,000 to help this person get into a yeshiva, or should you use this $1,000 to invest in a video that could reach 100,000 people or 10,000 people?
Okay, so that's the old question is, what's more valuable, to invest into a Talmid Chacham or to invest into Kiruv? Now, some Chachamim say they're equal. Some Chachamim say they're equal. Investing into a Talmid Chacham, if he's a serious Talmid Chacham, he learns every day, he's going to get 600,000 mitzvot a day. It's very, very profitable. Kiruv can get you a whole lot more. But some Chachamim say that Kiruv is much, much higher. I don't know anyone that says that Talmid Chacham is higher. Either it's equal or Kiruv is higher. And the reason why is for exactly the same thing that what you just said. If, let's say, for example, I give this Talmid Chacham $1,000 to go and learn. Now, I'm betting everything on him. Now, if he goes and learns, and he ends up becoming a serious Talmid, I'm a partner, a little small partner at least, in what he's doing. I'm not getting every one of his mitzvot, but I'm getting something. And if he's a real serious Talmid Chacham, that little something can be a big something. What if he's not a Talmid Chacham? What if he decides to go to Israel and smoke cigarettes? What if he decides to go to the clubs? What if he decides that it's not for him? What if he decides to come home because he's homesick? What if it doesn't work out? All of my money went into this one guy, and it didn't work out. And even if it does work out, at the best case scenario, I'm only a partner in part of what he got, not everything. And the only way you get everything of what Talmid Chacham does is if you do Issachar and Zvulun. Meaning, the real Issachar and Zvulun is you got to give him half your money. That's the real Issachar and Zvulun. Meaning, half the money that you make, you give him. That means if you make $1 million, you got to give him $500,000. If you make $10,000, you give him $5,000. That's the real Issachar and Zvulun. The other Issachar and Zvulun that's more common is you give him all of his expenses. Whatever his expenses is. So let's say you make $1 million, but his expenses are not $1 million. His expenses, let's say $10,000 a month. So you give him $10,000 a month. That's Issachar and Zvulun. That's the most common Issachar and Zvulun. That's the only way you're getting all of his mitzvot and sharing it 50-50. To pay for one of the things that he does, 1 month, 2 months, you're only getting a small portion. But that's again, so even if you get Issachar and Zvulun, it's a lot of money for the sake of, hopefully, if he's a Talmid Chacham. Now, if you don't know if he's a Talmid Chacham, he's not a verified Talmid Chacham yet. He hasn't confirmed it yet. He hasn't been tested yet. He hasn't committed yet. It's a very, very risky investment, like a penny stock. On the other hand, if you have a video that reaches a lot of people, that's a serious video that gets people to do tshuva, you're going to invest $1,000, it's going to reach 100,000 people, you can't even compare the two. It's like comparing Apple to some penny stock. Why? Because that's definitely going to reach 100,000 people. That may reach somebody on the other account. Out of the 100,000 people, if it's a good video, surely it's going to help some people do tshuva. And even if you have a small percentage, 2, 3, 4, 5% people do tshuva, you're talking about thousands of people doing tshuva, and you have every single one of their mitzvot for the rest of their life. And if one of them has a kid, or he themselves turn into Talmid Chacham, you're Rothschild, you're Rockefeller in Gan Eden. So, surely, in this case, that's why most people say Kiruv is much higher. Now, because supporting the Torah is also very, very critical and very important, part of what we do at Bezrat Hashem is we do both. Every single month, we send money to Israel, to people that we know for sure are Talmidei Chachamim. Not maybe yes, maybe no. For sure. They're serious people, they wrote books, they're writing books, they're learning nonstop, in the kollel, outside of the kollel, their entire life is Torah, so I know that every single penny is well spent. And obviously the majority of the money goes to Kiruv, to help people do tshuva and so on and so forth. That's a much bigger need. But you do a little bit of both because you can. But the point being is that if you have an option of only one, you're limited to only doing one, then it's a no-brainer if one is a better product than the other. Now again, if the Talmid Chacham is Rav Kanievsky, and the Kiruv is some video that you made in your house with $3 budget, then give it to Rav Kanievsky. Why? Because you know Rav Kanievsky, you don't have to test it. You know, he's going to study. He's going to study with the money. But how many Rav Kanievskys do you have in the world? You understand what I'm saying? So it all depends on, it's not just a dollar for dollar, it's not just apple to apple, you have to measure it, but generally speaking, it's much easier to get more benefit from Kiruv because there's just more of it, there's more to do, and today, Baruch Hashem, it's easier to do. It's easier to reach a lot more people with Kiruv than it ever was before. In the old days, you just do a lecture, you reach as many people as you mentioned in the lecture, maybe make a little videotape that you're going to print 500 copies of. That's the best you're going to get. Today, Baruch Hashem, you spend $1,000, you can reach 100,000 people, like he said. So it may not necessarily be 100,000 Jews, but it's going to be 100,000 people for sure, and you're going to get some people to do good stuff. So that's what we have to constantly use our business helmet for kiruv, and use the knowledge that you have. That's what we do: the flyers, marketing, the CDs, the videos, the this. You dabble in different things to see what works the best. Even like, for example, sharing our stuff on Google. Doing all this with search engine optimization. We have a budget, we spend on it to reach a certain amount of people, but we don't spend a big amount of money on any one particular thing until it shows that it's proven, that it's actually producing results. Once it produces results, then we uptick it another $5. It produces the results that warrants it, and it's another $5, another $10. That's how you're supposed to do it. Don't just throw a lot of money and hope for the best. It doesn't work that way. It's not, Torah is not like Coca-Cola. You can't sell it to everybody. You can't. I wish you could, but you can't. If you send these shiurim to a bunch of anti-Semites, I'm not really sure you're going to get that good of results as if you're going to send it to people that live in Lakewood. So be smart. In the back, Naomi, you had a question?
Basically a question.
No.
What about Forex?
What about who? Forex?
So if someone turns 1,000 into 40,000, how would it work?
Forex is no different than stocks, no different than real estate, no different than art, no different than any other type of investment. It's just an investment vehicle. The end result is the same. You bought something at price A, you sold it at price B. There's a profit between the two. Whatever that profit is, you give Maaser from that profit. When that profit is realized, not when it's unrealized. Meaning once you sold it, once you covered the short or once you covered the long, you realize that profit, that's when you pay Maaser. It doesn't matter what the asset class is. It could be a bond, it could be a stock, it could be a art, it could be a Bitcoin, it could be a dog, a cat, a car, people if you want, whatever. Bottom line is, you sold something for a profit, pay Maaser. People was only relevant in the past when it's avadim or legal. Today, now let's tell people, but just in case. No, next. Yes.
Let's say you were to put 100,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
On this forex.
Okay.
And let's say you saw you weren't that skillful or whatnot, and you start losing, and before you lose it all, you cash out at, you lost 40,000, you cash out at 60,000.
Right.
You should also be able to give Maaser for that.
No, you lost money. You only give Maaser off of profit, off of gain. So if you got an income from your job, that's a gain. Your job gave you a $5,000 paycheck, that's a gain. You bought a stock for $10,000, you sold it for $20,000, you got a $10,000 gain. But if you bought stock for $10,000 and you sold it for $5,000, you lost $5,000. There's no Maaser. You lost money. So there's no Maaser. There's Maaser is only from a gain, not from a loss. If you end up giving money from that 60,000, meaning from the example that you gave, you bought it 100,000, you sold it 60,000, which means you lost $40,000. If you give money from that, that's not Maaser. That's tzedakah. Tzedakah you can give any time, but you don't. But there's no Maaser mitzvah. There's no Maaser mitzvah.
Are you allowed a second question?
That's the second question. No, go ahead.
Basically, how can a person enjoy Olam HaBa when family members are in Gehinom or Kafakela?
It's a very good question. How could a person enjoy Olam HaBa when he has family members in Gehinom? Well, first off, for question number 3, first off, you have to do everything possible to make sure they don't go to Gehinom while you're alive. While you're alive. If you do everything possible, bring them to a shiur, give them a CD, share a link, send them a book, over and over again, from time to time. You stop for a little while, you start again. You must do everything possible throughout your whole life to try to get them to do tshuva. Sometimes it's once or twice a week, sometimes it's once or twice a year. But the bottom line is you try it on a regular basis to help people to do tshuva. If you left this world trying everything possible to help the people close to you, do tshuva, then there's nothing for you to be upset about because you tried. Plus, you should never make your family the only people that you help do tshuva. In fact, you should try to help strangers do tshuva a lot more than you help your own family. And the reason why is because you want to show Hashem that you are helping them, not because they're your brother or sister, but because they're Hashem's kids. Now, if it's all about Hashem's kids, then why do you... It doesn't matter if they're your brothers and sister. Now, what ends up happening is that when a person helps HaKadosh Baruch Hu's kids do tshuva, HaKadosh Baruch Hu helps that person. You care about Hashem's kids, measure for measure, Hashem is going to help about the people you care about. Now, if you do everything possible to help the people do tshuva, generally speaking, including your family and everybody else, you do everything possible, and they still end up in Gehinom, yes, part of you is not going to be happy about it, but not for long. Not for long. And the reason why, if you spent your whole life trying to help people do tshuva, you're going to have such a good time in Gan Eden, you're not going to have time to think about Gehinom. You're not going to have time to think about your family. You're not going to have time to think about any of these other people that are in bad places. Because in Olam HaEmet, in the world of truth, there's no feelings of this world. Once you realize the magnitude of sin, when you go up to Shamayim, you're going to say Chazaku Baruch Hashem for putting them in Gehinom. Chazaku Baruch for putting them in Gehinom, because you're going to know what's the magnitude of sin. So, and also you're going to enjoy the mitzvot. So you're not necessarily, people think that, Gan Eden is going to be the father, the mother, and the family, and the whole lineage of kids all camping or something in Gan Eden. Gan Eden is not camping. It's not. You're not going to see your brother and sister and camp with them, have barbecues, and invite them for Shabbat in Gan Eden. That's not exactly how it works. Gan Eden is a very, very different than the fun and the joy of this world. It's joy that's unexplainable, if you will. But the point being is that if you expended all resources in this world to help Klal Yisrael do tshuva, surely you're putting your family and your loved ones in a better position to be helped by a better messenger. Because many times people are not going to listen to you, not because of what you say, but because you're saying it. Your mother is not going to listen to you, not because of what you say, but because you're saying it. You're her baby. Yeah, but I'm 30 years old. You're still her baby. She still remembers that she used to change you in diapers. It's hard to take rebuke from somebody you saw fill up their diaper 3-4 times a day. It's hard to take rebuke from them. So what happens is, don't rebuke your parents, don't fight with anyone in your family, get somebody else to do it. Get somebody else to do it. Take one of the CDs, give it to them. Take a lecture, a link, share it with them. It's a much better way, more effective way to do kiruv, and also a way for you to eliminate problems where you get angry at people because they don't want to listen to you. And that's a sin of itself. It could even be chilul Hashem. So it's better to get other people to do to help your family do tshuva, and you focus your efforts on other people doing tshuva, strangers. That way, HaKadosh Baruch Hu can reward you for both. Next, almost done. Okay.
Does the prohibition of eating the first fruits from the tree apply also? Does it apply in the exile? Because there's a prohibition of eating the first fruits.
No. It's only in Israel. Only in Israel. The first fruits of a tree for the first 3 years is only in Eretz Yisrael. In the exile, you're allowed to eat whatever grows in the exile. There's no obligation to wait. There's no obligation to wait. Good question. Next, yes, Joshua. Oh, I've been waiting for you. Thought you were on strike today.
The story with the Rabbi Yaron
Okay.
Keeping the finder's fee for the woman.
Okay.
Can a similar strategy be applied for other righteous acts? If you want to do big, tzedakah or something, is there a way to kind of apply something similar to the situation?
So Rabbi Zusha was a unique person, was a tzaddik yesod olam, a giant chacham, And we learn the Maasim of the tzaddikim, not necessarily because we're going to do the same things as them, but rather, number one, to appreciate the tzaddikim, to see how great they were and how much greater they are than us. Number two is to try to emulate them on a smaller scale, and not to overstep our boundaries. You know, there's knowledge that, for example, Rav Kuli, Rav Yaakov Kuli, the Baal Me'am Loez, he used to fast from Shabbat to Shabbat while he was writing the Me'am Loez. Now, you fast, by the second day you go into the hospital. So don't try to be Rav Kuli. You fast Tisha B'Av, you fast Yom Kippur, you fast when you're obligated to fast. Don't fast any more than that. Why? Focus on doing other things. Learn more Torah, do more mitzvot, and so on. So we have to also know where we stand. So how do you do something even greater than Rabbi Zusha without being Rabbi Zusha? How can you do it? There are different levels of tzedakah. The lowest level of tzedakah is when the giver knows who the receiver is, and the receiver knows who the giver is. Both know who they are. You know who I am, and I know who you are. That's the lowest level of tzedakah. The highest level of tzedakah is when the giver doesn't know who he's giving to, and the receiver doesn't know where he got it from. Everyone's anonymous. So, if you have somebody that you trust, you tell them, listen, Rabbi or dear friend or whoever, here's $500, give it to some tzaddik that you know. Don't tell me who. Don't tell me who. Give it to one of your avrichim in Eretz Yisrael. Don't tell me who though. That's the highest level of tzedakah. Why? You're giving it to somebody to do it for you. Obviously has to get there somehow. You have to trust this person. You're giving it to them. He's giving it to the other person. The other person, oh, who gave it to me? Oh, he wants to stay anonymous. That's the highest level of tzedakah. The receiver doesn't know and the giver doesn't know. There are some times that you have that the receiver doesn't know, but the giver knows. So there's a famous story of Yosele, a tzaddik, a kamtzan. Very famous story that there was one guy, a rich guy named Yosele. And Yosele was very rich and was known as the cheapest person on earth. Anytime somebody would come to him, ask for tzedakah, they would regret the day they were born. He not only wouldn't give them any money, but he would embarrass them on the way out. Go, get out of here, you little beggar, nothing, you, go. So he was known among everybody. Everyone hated him. Kamtzan, cheap, stingy. He has so much money, he doesn't even want to give $5. One day, Yosele dies. Nobody showed up to his funeral. Why? It's Kamtzan. Didn't help anybody. Guy's Rockefeller bank account. Doesn't even want to give $5 to some poor person. Nobody showed up to his funeral except his immediate family, his wife, kids. Then, a week later, 500 people show up to the rabbi. 500 poor people show up to him, crying hysterical. What happened? Where did you guys come from? We live here. I live here. I'm the one that works at the butcher's place. I'm the one that works at the winery. I'm the one at this. I'm the one at that. Okay, and what happened? He goes, we need money. He goes, what, all of a sudden? He goes, no, not all of a sudden. We always needed money. He goes, so how did you all manage, all 500 families? How did you guys all manage? Don't know. This is every week, we went to the butcher and he gave us the money. Because where did he get the money from? We don't know. With the work, the money was there every week. For how long? 30 years. 30 years we're getting the money, same thing, all the time. Is the money. Where's the money come from? We don't know. So the rabbi goes, he says, who gave you the money? No, Rabbi, I can't do it. I can't tell you. What do you mean you can't tell me? I'm the rabbi. I'm the rabbi of the city. No, I'm not tell you. Rabbi, I promise I'm not going to tell you. I command you to say it right now. You have a problem with 500 people that are homeless. I need to know what's going on. He says, listen, Rabbi, I made a promise 30 years ago to Yoseleh Kamtzan. Yoseleh Kamtzan every week would send me money, and he says, give this envelope to this guy that works at the winery. Give this envelope to this guy that works at the butcher. Give this envelope to this one. This guy came to my house this week. I kicked him out, but give him the money. He needs money, but I didn't want to give it to him. Give him all the money. He says, how did all of you survive all these years? Yoseleh Kamtzan, Yoseleh is stingy. He's the one that financed everybody. The rabbi started crying hysterical. How did we disrespect Yoseleh Tzaddik? How did we not show up to his funeral? How we all hated him and this. He started crying himself to sleep. Crying himself to sleep. That night, Yoseleh showed up to him in his dream. He said, for the Rav, please don't cry. Don't cry. You have to know, I did it on purpose because I heard from a shiur that this is the highest level of, one level, the highest level of tzedakah. I didn't have anybody that I could give it to. So, one person knew, but I knew who the people I wanted to give it to. They would come to my house, they need money, but I didn't want to give it to them. So, I would give it to him and he would give it to different people. But to make sure that I have the full mitzvah and I'm not getting any honor of it, I was a machmir. What did I do? I made sure that they embarrassed me on top of it. They would get mad at me. So they would never ever think, last place on earth, they would think it's me. But don't be sad, Rabbi. Don't be sad. Right now, you know, with my best friend, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. I'm sitting here with them. The rabbi woke up the next day. He told his keilah about this dream. He says, Yoseleh Kamtzan Tzaddik. That's what they wrote in his grave. Yoseleh Kamtzan. He was Kamtzan. It's a cheap, stingy. Tzaddik. And that's how you know the story. So that's it. Next story. Next story. Next question, or we're done? Next story. No?
It's a sort of Torah, piece of Torah, piece of Torah,
Mm-hmm.
to bury it. So my question is, why isn't there psak about deleting apps, digital shiurim? Why is it okay to delete this stuff?
Okay. So when something is inscribed on a scroll, on a piece of paper, it's considered mamash. It's considered real. You write Shem Hashem on a piece of paper, and you don't want it anymore. You have to take that piece of paper or that book and put it in the gniza. You have to bury it. You can't just throw it in the garbage because Hashem's name is on it, unless it was written by a Christian. If it was written by a Christian, the Rambam says it's mitzvah to burn it. But it was written by a Jew, a righteous Jew, wrote Shem Hashem on some piece of paper or in a book, and you don't want it anymore. It went bad, it got destroyed, whatever it is, you have to bury it. But when it's on digital, when it's on a digital image of Shem Hashem, whether it's a digital picture or it's a digital app or something like that, it's not considered mamash. All it is considered is lights that are hitting your screen. It's little electrodes that are hitting your screen that are changing different colors. It's not really considered Hashem's name. So it's not. There's no problem in deleting Shem Hashem if it's on a computer screen or an app or anything like that, because it's not considered real. But chashmal is not. It's not a real image. It's not. It's like, for example, if let's say you hear right now I say a bracha, right? I say a bracha. Now you are going to say amen, right? But the people that are watching on the internet, they're not allowed to say amen.
Live, they can't.
They cannot say amen unless they know that my voice arrives to them within a fraction of 2 seconds. 2 seconds. If there's a delay more than 2 seconds, they're not allowed to say amen, because what they're hearing is not my voice anymore, but rather more like an echo of my voice or an image of my voice. So if you hear some, let's say, video of, let's say, a rabbi doing any type of blessing on some video on YouTube or something like that, you don't say amen, because it's not a bracha. You're not hearing their voice, you're hearing a digital replication of their voice. It's not considered real. So the same concept when it comes to the things on your screen. Right now you see that there are numbers on my screen, but if I press this, those numbers are gone. I didn't erase those numbers. It's that the light, the electric thing changed colors. So it was never really there to begin with. It's not considered real. When you write it on something, you could do whatever you want. That writing is not going anywhere. You could lift it up, lift it high, put a light on it, without a light on it. Bottom line is that image is staying there because that image became part of that paper. That's considered real. That's what you have to bury. But anytime it's electrodes on a screen, digital screen, it's not considered something that is holy or to the extent where you're not allowed to erase it. So if you write, let's say, Shem Hashem on your screen, but you made a mistake, you're allowed to erase it with no problem. Not allowed to erase it. Generally speaking, you shouldn't write Hashem's name for no reason, unless you're writing a digital thing, a scroll, a siddur, or something like that. You shouldn't use Hashem's name. And even if you're writing some of these things, many times there are chachamim that refrain from doing anyway, and just put a hey, or a dalet, or a yud, and not the full name. You'll see many siddurim do not have Shem Hashem in all blessings. Or sometimes you see posters, like Asher Yatzar posters, or different blessing posters, they don't have the Yud K Vav K there. They have a Yud or something else that represents Hashem's name. Because again, you don't necessarily want to just throw Hashem's name like a tennis ball. You know, you want to make sure that wherever you're putting Hashem's name, that's a place that's holy, it's not going to be desecrated and disrespected. So a lot of times people put Hashem's name on like their profile picture or on some Facebook poster. Mistake. Don't use Hashem's name that way. You want to write the word Hashem, you can write the word Hashem anywhere you want. Because the word Hashem means the name. It's not the actual name, but rather it means the name. That's what you can say Hashem 1.5 million times, and it doesn't. It just means the name. Why the name? Because the actual name itself is so holy, we're not even allowed to say it. Even when you say the name that you think is the name, which is Amonai, I'm not saying the Dalit, it's usually with the Dalit, it's not really the name. It's not really the name. The Yud K Vav K doesn't actually sound as Amonai. It doesn't say Amonai. It sounds something completely different. We don't say that name. Never say that name. So much so that when somebody uses that name disrespectfully or even says it, Mara says, En lo chelek le'olam haba. No olam haba. One of the tzaddikim, Gemara Masechet Ta'anit, says Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa used to delve into this name, used to study this name, and he almost lost his olam haba. He had to get a lot of suffering in this world because he used the name to study it, not to write it on a Facebook post, to study it. Even that you have to be careful with. Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa revived the dead. So people are stupid. They write the name or the sound of the name with the Y and the way and all that stuff. Stupid people. You write it, okay, no lamba, bye. It's like a tourist attraction. Bye. So you see, go on a cruise to nowhere. Name of Hashem, if it's on actual paper, it's holy. Means that if you studied from it, you have to make sure you have to treat it carefully. But also there are some that actually also say that even if it's a Dvar Torah, doesn't have Hashem's name on it. A written Dvar Torah, and you studied it, should also go to Geniza. Even if it doesn't have Hashem's name on it. Let's say somebody wrote up a Torah article. You go to, let's say, Rav Yitzchak Yosef, Rav Ovadia's son, is a website of Halacha Yomit. Every day they send you another halacha. It's a good website. And those papers that you get, if you're reading it on screen, you finish it on a screen, you can delete it, no problem. But if you printed it, you should put it in a gniza after you finish with it. Magazines, depends on the magazine. In Eretz Yisrael, it's a normal thing to see in Yerushalayim and other religious neighborhoods, a special garbage pail that's not a garbage, that's only for Gniza, where people put all of those magazines and books every week. That's because there's a lot of Torah over there, a lot of magazines over there, a lot of newsletters out there. So every week people take all of those things and they put it in something that looks like a garbage pail, but it's not a real garbage pail. It's a garbage pail just specifically for Torah stuff. And there's an organization of volunteers where they go and they pick it up and they bury all of this stuff as a chesed for the community. I don't believe they have that, at least in America, but maybe they have it in Muncie, maybe they have it in Lakewood, but here I don't know of any of it.
I don't want to name any magazines, but there are weekly issues that give out on newspapers, and I see a lot of them end up in the trash. First of all, they get thrown on the lawns. And they all have to go.
It depends. It depends what's in it. If it's Dvar Torah, you shouldn't throw it in the trash. If you read it. If you didn't read it, no one ever read it, then it's there. Then there's a Chachamim that says it doesn't have any kedusha in it.
It goes to thousands of homes. It goes to tens of thousands of homes. So people read it, they throw it out.
Again, like I said, if let's say there's a magazine on a table, you never read it, some will say it has no holiness in it until somebody reads it. But if somebody read it, learned it, is in there, after that he has to put it in the gniza. The people are throwing it out, they're throwing it out. They should put a little note on the magazine to put it in a gniza instead. But it's not a very commonly known halacha outside of the really, really frum communities that are careful with these things. When I first saw this gniza garbage pail, I couldn't believe it. What is this? That's why they put it. I said, why are all these books here? That's gniza. Like, these books are in gniza? Yeah, all these books, magazines, this, that. Every week they fill them up.
You said that the phone, the lights aren't real.
It's not real, yes.
So why is a man not allowed to see modest things?
That's a different story. It's not real in a sense that it's not considered Hashem's name, that you're not allowed to delete it. But if it's an immodest woman or anything like that, that is very much real. You're actually seeing the image itself. You're seeing, obviously, something that's happening that causes thoughts that are happening in your mind. We're talking about not real in a sense that it's obviously a real name of Hashem, and just like it's a real immodest woman. But we're talking about real in a sense of how to apply erasing it or not erasing it. You're allowed to erase the stuff that's on a digital image on a computer, but you're not allowed to erase the stuff that's on a piece of paper. It's only the real or not real is only in a sense of when applying it to whether you're allowed to erase it or not. When it's a real or even not real immodesty, it's not allowed to be watched at any time. Meaning real person or even a cartoon, not allowed to watch immodesty. Immodesty doesn't have any, but that's a given. But it's not real or not real as far as if it's not real, like as if you're not watching nothing. Real or not real as far as whether you're allowed to erase the name. Different application of the same word. Anything else, or we're finished for the night? You guys ran out. You know the rest of the Torah?
I can go all night. I don't want to keep you there.
No, give me one more question. You're in New York, so go ahead. You have one?
Yeah, this is an argument that I was having with my brother, but what's the point for a kid who's less than bar mitzvah to do what the Torah says?
What's the point of a kid before bar mitzvah doing what the kid says?
Reward.
Okay, so, right. So a kid doing mitzvot, kids have to start doing mitzvot as soon as possible, not because they're getting the reward for it, but rather because it's training. If you only start a kid keeping Shabbat at 13 years old, guess what? He's also going to be Mechalel Shabbat at 13 years old. Unless you already made Shabbat part of his life since he was an infant, since he was a kid that simply understood who Abba and Ima was, he already understood that he's not allowed to play with certain toys at 3-4 years old. He's not allowed to turn on lights at 3-4 years old. By the time he gets to 13, he's already going to be used to it. He's not going to know a reality without Shabbat. So that's keeping the kid pure. It's not a matter of he's getting a reward for it, but rather it's a matter of you're training him for the time of when it's really going to be effective. In the sports world, they say that you play the way you practice. Meaning, if you practice with all your heart, when it comes to game time, you're going to do really, really well. Why? Because you cared enough about practice that when game time comes, you're going to be ready. But if you practice like somebody that's half asleep, you're not going to be ready for the game. So in essence, if your kids are already trained when they're 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, 12 years old, to what it's going to happen when it's really applicable, they're already going to do very well. It's already going to be instilled in them. Rabbi Yaron Reuven used to say that it was a minhag in his family to already start teaching kids about punishment and even about Gehinom when it was 6 years old. Why? If you teach the kid about Gehinom to his extent, now you don't have to start talking about malachim, ripping people apart, just the basics of the punishment fire. If you teach him about Gehinom at 6 years old, he said, you're not going to have to teach him about Gehinom when he's 60. But if you don't teach him at Gehinom at 6 years old, most likely you have to teach him when he's 60. And that's why you have a lot of kids that go off the derech. Many kids go off the derech because they don't really know why they're keeping the mitzvot. Either because all they know is they do it because they have to, but they don't know why they have to. Or they know that just about the bad parts and not about the good parts. Usually it's because there's something missing. So it's a complete Torah education starts when the kids are very little, and you continue. It's not just about teaching them that if you do this, you're going to Gan Eden. When they're little kids, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, when they're little kids, you have to bribe them to learn with you, to read and to learn Torah and to do things with stuff in this world. Give them candy, give them honey, bribe them with money. Bribe them with money. Tell them, listen, here, if you listen to me read the parasha for 2 minutes, I'll give you candy. Candy? Okay, I'll listen to the parasha. I'll listen to the parasha. Okay. Rabbi Shimon. Right. Now he's not listening to the parasha because he cares about Moshe Rabbeinu. He's listening to the parasha because he wants the candy. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says it's the best way to teach Torah. The kid, it's the only way to teach Torah. Why? If he starts learning this way, eventually the Torah is going to turn into the candy. The Torah is going to turn into the candy. But if you tell him, listen, come here because I said so, guess what? He's going to hate you and whatever you teach. Come here, I'm going to punish you forever. He's going to hate you and whoever you're teaching about. If you bribe him, say, listen, want a present? Want a present? Yeah, I want a present. Okay, come learn Aleph Bet with me. Okay, I'll learn Aleph Bet. What do you think? My house, the holiday every day. Constant presents. Why? They learn Torah, Yishtabach Shemo. They learn Torah, get present. You learn Torah with Michal today? Okay, here's a present. You learn Torah today with Ima? Here's a present. You learn Torah with Yael? Here's a present. Why? You learn Torah, you get presents. Why? I want to have tzaddikim in my house. So if that's going to cost me every single penny that I have and don't have, that's what we're going to produce. Why? Because that's what you have. That's what Rabbi Shimon said. Why? I'm bigger than Rabbi Shimon. I'm going to tell you guys, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. I wrote the Zohar. What did I write? I barely read Aleph Bet. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said a stamp. You want people to do tshuva, you want people to do things, you have to bribe them sometimes. That's why even a minhag, Rashi writes, minhag in his day when they would teach kids Aleph Bet, they would have it written, the Aleph Bet engraved on a piece of wood, and then they would fill it with honey. And every time the kid would say the letter the right way, they would let him lick the honey. Why? It says every time he thinks of Aleph, he thinks of honey, then the Aleph is his Torah. He doesn't know Moshe Rabbeinu yet. He knows Aleph. Aleph is his Torah. For little kids learning Aleph Bet is Torah for them. That's 100% Torah, like you're learning Gemara. So when a kid learns, Tinokot Shet Bet Rabban, learn Aleph Bet, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is dancing in Shamayim. So when you give the kid a little bit of sugar, a little bit of honey, or candy, whatever, every time he has an Aleph, guess what? He's going to think of something sweet when he's 30 years old, every time he says Dvar Torah. And sometimes you see tzaddikim, when they say Dvar Torah, they go like this. Why? Because they must taste something sweet. They actually taste something sweet in their mouth. Some tzaddikim, they actually taste something sweet in their mouth when they learn Torah. Okay, enough stories for you today. B'ezrat Hashem, I'm going to see you guys next week. There is a chance that there's not going to be a shiur on Sunday, but there's good news. If there's no shiur on Sunday, it's going to be a little bit of good news. Why? Because that means we'll be moving finally, B'ezrat Hashem. And if we're moving, that means that I'm going to tell you the next time I see you a nice announcement about the new community that we're going to, B'ezrat Hashem, build, Torah, Kedusha, with everything in it. So it's if we close the deal, B'ezrat Hashem, hopefully in the next few hours, that means that we'll be able to move next week, and that means that that's going to be the next destination that I'm going to tell all of you guys to finally, when people ask me, should I move to this? Yes, finally I'm going to say yes. A million people have been asking me over the years, should I move to Florida? No. But you live there. Exactly. Don't move. But now it's going to be finally a place for you guys to move to, and the reason why is because finally we're going to actually have our own place, B'ezrat Hashem. We're going to do a lot of things. I'm going to give you more details, B'ezrat Hashem, once it's closer to reality, but nonetheless, it's all in the plans, it's all in the works. I'm already telling people to move to Florida, but only to move to where we're going to be. Not to just some random place wherever, because we're going to, B'ezrat Hashem, have a Bet Knesset, a place that we're going to build a yeshiva, a school, all types of wonderful things, and try to, B'ezrat Hashem, build the next Lakewood, but even bigger, even better. Once and for all, we need to do everything we can to invest into American Judaism, simply because there are 6 million people here. I could easily go on a plane tomorrow and go to Eretz Yisrael, but that means that I'm giving up on every single local person in America, and it's not fair. So, instead of worrying about my own tuchus, I have to worry about your tuchus. So that means we have to build something. And unfortunately, what we've been trying to do over the last 6 years is try to help people do tshuva, and then they go to Bet Knesset. The problem is, many times, they do tshuva by us, and the Bet Knesset ruins them. So we figured that it's time for us to bring some people, and to build something special. And we're going to need a lot of siyata d'ishmaya. A lot of siyata d'ishmaya, a lot of help from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to make it happen. And Baruch Hashem, it's already happening. So that's the next step is going to be, hopefully in the next few days, we'll be moving. And that will be the destination, and Yetziat Mitzrayim at some point also. But until then, I will see you soon. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen ve'amen.